This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Salam, welcome to the halftime show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, cover everything sport, international and local. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, even chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. Man, I've had a lot of guests on this show, and I'll tell you what, I always like to give you a behind-the-scenes look on what's happening in the world of sport. And who better than an actual match analyst? See, you didn't think that was coming. Karim Tayara is the first of his kind on the show and another addition to the pool of talented guests we've had on the halftime show. Karim is a UEFA B coach, a match analyst, and amongst his impressive resume has worked for West Ham United and the UAE national team. Make sure you don't go anywhere. Stay tuned on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
Oh, he loves the fire and what a goal!
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Hope you're blessed wherever you're tuned in around the world. Guys, it is fantastic to be on here live with you on Pulse 95 Radio in the heart of Sharjah. We got a welcome on our show, Karim Tayara. Karim, welcome.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me on the show, man. Big pleasure, man. I appreciate it.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just happy to be here, bro. And like I said, I heard a lot about you.
I heard a lot about you, man. I heard a lot about you and good stuff, actually. Your resume is very, very impressive. You're a UEFA B coach. You've also a match analyst. You've got a sports science degree. You've worked in the UK. Some big things happening. Now, the modern game, Karim, has evolved massively. The importance of analysis more than ever now is under the microscope in football. What are the different types of analysis?
Mm-hmm. So, the thing is with football these days, everything is changing so quick. Like every day, like if I go on LinkedIn, I'll see someone introducing like a new level of analysis to the game. But in general, match analysis can be broken down into a couple of ways. So you have like your training analysis. So for example, the coach will have a training session, and then as an analyst, you need to be there to record the training session. You can do it with a drone. You can do it with a camera. Depends on the level of the facilities you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use that training session. You can break it down into strengths and weaknesses, and help kind of the coach develop his like playing philosophy, see where his strengths are, see what maybe his weaknesses are. Because like as you know, sometimes as a coach you're so like involved in the session, you might miss a couple of things. So it's good to just have that somebody else's eyes to watch the video again and see what you maybe missed from the session.
The trusted eyes is something, and I know you mentioned drone.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the drone, what kind of things do you normally spot as a match analyst? Let's say in training, for example.
So again, it's based on the coaches. I always try to work with the coach. I always try to understand the coach's philosophy before he starts a training session. What's his theme? What's he trying to do? And then I'll have a look at that specific thing. So, for example, say he's working on the offensive phase. If he builds up from the goalie, is he trying to ask his central midfielder to come drop between the lines, play as a back three, or stay higher? And then I'll follow that throughout the session, kind of code it after, and then kind of present to the coach directly.
Interesting. Yeah. And obviously you've worked with different coaches, different styles. Now, as a coach yourself, what's your style? I know you're not normally asked that. Normally, because you're a match analyst, you're working with the coach depending on his philosophy.
Exactly.
But as a coach, what's your style of play?
Good question. I was thinking about this on the way. I was like, maybe I'm going to ask me this question. I got to be ready. So when I was taking a team as a head coach, I kind of follow the philosophy that was popular with Pep Guardiola and many coaches, but it's like a positional play philosophy. Basically, what that means is when you have possession of the ball, you try to have like a good offensive organization and have like good positional superiority in comparison to the opponent. So, for example, like have your midfielders play between the lines. So when you do build up from the back, you have like possibilities to play forward. So I was always big on possibilities to play forward and having good position on the pitch in the offensive phase and trying to dominate the game with the ball as much as possible. Of course, that's like only like a small level of like what positional play is, but it's something that I definitely think is part of my philosophy, offensively at least.
Yeah, and that's interesting. When do you still play?
I try to play with my friends.
Yeah,
I try to play.
So when you play, has your game changed since you've been a match analyst?
Yeah, definitely.
How so?
So I think when I was probably younger, before I started working in football, I was like just a dribbler. Let's give me the ball, I'll dribble. Like I don't care if I pass to you or something like that.
Yeah.
As I got a little bit older and played and watched the game more, I started to understand that it's not about me.
Right.
It's about the team and how I can help the team keep the ball, move the ball, and defend. So I just moved from selfish to like a bit more of a team player. If you like.
Which player would you model yourself on?
Oh my God, I was a huge Zanetti fan because I mentioned to you.
But he wasn't a selfish player.
No, he wasn't. I know.
Now we're talking the same language. See, if you're someone who said you only used to dribble, and yet you pick one of the most unselfish players who is a natural born leader, that's pretty impressive to look up to.
Yeah, no, he's a legend in my eyes. I think he's probably one of the most underrated, at the same time legendary players in the game. As a right back, I remember watching him. He played right back, he played midfield. But he just like never lost the ball.
Yes.
Like one of those players that never lost the ball.
Yes.
And you could just rely on him to give a consistent performance.
I think the biggest compliment I can give him is that he probably paved the ways for players like Kimmich for Bayern Munich.
Sure.
Who is naturally a defensive player who's got the intelligence of a midfielder.
Sure, yeah.
And so when I watch the modern game now, and I think there's very rare times where you will compare them to the icons that you've just mentioned, like Zanetti, but Kimmich is up there.
Yeah, Kimmich.
See, you got me thinking now. We're going to take a quick break. That's the first segment of the Halftime Show. Please stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
Oh, he loves the fire and what a goal!
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful! Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes, we are back and we are live on Pulse 95 Radio. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in and hope you're having a blessed Monday. Okay, right. So Karim Tayara's on the show today and I've been picking his brain on the world of sports from a different lens. And the reason why I say that, because this guy, man, a very, very impressive resume, is a match analyst who really does do his homework. Now, a lot of coaches normally say, make sure you do your homework before you step to the game. Well, this guy not only does his homework, but also helps assist with the head coach's homework. So, Karim, I wanted to ask you, youth development is massive. And more than ever now, everyone's trying to find that next star. Your Eric Haalands, those players, the Jude Bellinghams that come out of nowhere. But with youth development comes talent ID as well. What is that? Just tell the audience.
So yeah, man, I appreciate this question because it's probably one of my favorite topics to talk about because everyone focuses on first team and performance and results, but youth development is like where the game is really at. Especially, I was blessed to work at a really good academy in West Ham, and I got to see so many players who are so good but didn't make it, and maybe those who weren't really predicted as gonna make it made it. So it made me question this idea of talent identification and what it's all about. So everyone has their opinion, but I think with talent ID, especially in football, it's like how you kind of identify a player that has potential to make it to the first team of your club. And the thing is with potential, it's like it can almost be like a guessing game. Like, how do you know if someone's gonna make it or not? So, like for example, like I mentioned, you have a player like let's say like a Declan Rice. He was like a high-performing, high-potential player. You could easily recognize that this player is gonna make it. Maybe not. I didn't expect he'd make it so quickly to where he is now, but definitely he's playing professional. And then you might get like another player.
Ravel Morrison?
Maybe. Ravel Morrison was an interesting player to kind of see. He had those qualities, but of course things off the pitch were maybe a bit difficult for him.
Yeah.
So but he's a really sweet guy. Like
So you've actually met him?
Yeah, he was the first guys that when I started working there,
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky because we shared the same training ground as the first team.
Mm-hmm.
And Ravel was like the first guy who kind of like interacted with me. He was speaking with me all the time, you know, like cracking jokes with me, like pulling pranks with me. So I I really respected him because, you know, I was new in the game, I was nervous, and he was, and then to see him on the pitch, especially that time at West Ham when Sam Allardyce was there, he had an amazing season. And then, you know, everyone was saying he's going to go for England, he's going to go for the World Cup. I think you remember.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, he kind of dropped off a little bit, and, you know, he has that tendency to, like, lose consistency.
Yeah. But, Karim, tell me this. Players like Ravel, who have been touted by your Rio Ferdinands at times where Pogba was there, Cristiano, all these people. When you look at a player like him, put aside your relationship with him, can you straight away say, oh man, that, you know, this person is gifted, like naturally gifted? And then the next point is, can you also say, I think this person is ready? Because normally coaches come to you for advice. It's not just, you know, the coach's word. They go to their assistants, their technical directors, their throw-in coaches, their set-piece coaches now, and they go to their match analysts. Now, how do you identify that kind of talent?
That's a good question, and I think it's the million-dollar question. I read a really interesting book on this topic. It's called Goldmine Effect. I don't know if you ever picked it up, by Erasmus Ankerson. And like he talks about this whole idea of like spotting talent, and he kind of makes a difference between like performance and potential. And he's like, if you just look at performance, then you don't really see what the story is about that person. You don't really see the adversity he has to go through to be the player. You don't see like maybe his struggles that he has outside of football or something like that. And he says if you look at that part of the player or part of the athlete and try to understand him and his background, you can maybe look for areas of improvement. So potential is basically all those areas of improvement if you brought them to the right level, and then that's the potential that you have of a player.
And what do you look for when you're looking at the game from a match analyst point of view? What do you look for to present to your coaches?
To my coach. So, for example, if I'm working with a youth team, like under 16s, and the coach is asking me, or we did like a talent scouting session, instinctively I look at the player's first touch under pressure, because I know that's like the foundation of the game. And if the player has a good first touch under pressure and makes quick decisions, that's like a good sign for me to say, coach, I think this guy has something. You know, he might not have to like be the quickest player or the strongest player. I'm just trying to see him under pressure in specific conditions in the game and see if he makes decent decisions. And that's a kind of a starting level I look at.
That's a very good starting point. And the other thing I would ask you, and this is a bit of a tricky one, it's how do you spot character?
Okay. No, that's an easy question, you know.
Okay, go on.
I'll ask you the same question. I think for me, character is hard to say because you need to spend time with a person for a long time, right? You can't really judge someone quickly. Like some people are easily misunderstood.
Yeah.
Character on the pitch, like is he willing to fight to the last minute? How does he react when the coach gives him like negative feedback? What happens when you drop him? What's his reaction? So those are the things like I look for.
Nice.
How about yourself?
Honestly, when things are not going right, when you're winning, everyone's happy.
Sure.
When you're losing, who holds himself accountable?
Yeah.
Who appreciates criticism, as you mentioned?
Yeah.
Who's willing to put in the extra work out of my eyesight?
Sure.
The peripheral vision is one thing in a coach where normally you always have, and they always tell us this, and you know this, you know, you're a realized coach yourself, you always have them in front of you.
Sure.
But when you stop coaching for the session, everyone then starts to disintegrate, go their own way. Sure. We're not at a situation now where we see them 6 days a week, for example.
Yeah, of course.
So, for example, in amateur football, you see them a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And even that, as soon as you've got them back in for an assessment, you kind of know if they've been looking after themselves or not. And funny, I was holding trials for my team the other day.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, we were doing a bleep test. And so when we finished, I looked at him and I asked him a question. It was kind of a private question. I've never met this guy before. But he was like, how'd you know? And I said, well, when you're in it for this long, you kind of sense it straight away. So already we kind of built up that relationship where there was transparency, you know, because normally, again, at trials, they could be quite quite shy. We've all been
Sure.
players as well. You could be a bit anxious. You could be worried what the coach is thinking. I kind of
Sure.
tried to break the ice straight away.
Sure.
And by asking him this question, shout out to Amro, he'll know who I'm talking about. by asking that this question, he kind of looked at me and said, yeah, you're right, coach.
Yeah,
So-
coach, sorry, coach, you got me there.
yeah, but that's how I spot it. But I'm very interested to hear about you. Okay, right, we're going to take a quick break. Fantastic so far. I'm really enjoying the content. Karim, you're a natural. We'll be right back after this quick break. See you in a bit.
Oh, he loves the fire and what a goal!
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Duri. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in. Mustafa, don't worry. I know I'm confusing sometimes, but I got your back, man. And the music will be on point. Thanks to our very own Sama, who's here in the background. Shout out to Sama. We've got a fantastic guest in the show. I'm telling you now, if I didn't have things to do after, I might just chill with him after and carry on talking football because it sounds very, very interesting to have Karim Tayara, who's on the show today. Karim, I'm going to pick your head on a couple of trending topics at the moment now, because again, like I said, selfishly I could chat to you all day. So the current topics trending at the moment, and as a match analyst, I'd like to get your view on this. What do you think of Antonio Conte as a coach? And is he a nightmare to work with? Like, would he be a nightmare to work with because he's so demanding? Or would he be someone where you would actually go, this guy is different?
Antonio Conte. So my best memories of Conte was when he was working with Chelsea and when they won the league. And it seems like the thing that he probably prides himself the most, other than his playing style, is his character. Seems like he's got a tough personality. And there's that interview with Henry maybe, where he's like, if a player doesn't do something, I'm going to kill him. So I was like, yeah, he looks scary. But I think he's probably quite a good motivator for players.
Yeah.
So he seems like, and then other than that, he's like switched on. Like a lot of Italian coaches are switched on tactically. And I remember, remind me, it was that time maybe like he changed his system in the league to like a 3-4-3 and then they just they kicked off.
Yes.
So he seems like he's quite flexible like that tactically.
Actually, they lost that game to Arsenal.
Yeah, and then he switched it.
And then he switched it.
Yeah.
He switched it, but you're spot on. I mean, he really interests me, and I'll tell you why. Because his attention to detail is very interesting as a coach who's still learning his trade. For me to watch someone like him, where I watched a small clip of him speaking to Daniel Levy, the chairman of Tottenham, recently, and he didn't care there was cameras on. And he said something where he's like, he was speaking about his team. He's got his brother as actually the person who does the videos. He's got Ventroni, all these people, and then he went, I really need the Tottenham staff to be cooperative. I need to know everything. So when he said that, I went, whew, okay. And obviously there's been jokes about the whole ketchup mayonnaise thing, and he's banned that from the canteens and switched up their diets and said they're all overweight and he needs to trim them down. But as a match analyst, when you come on board with someone of that stature or that kind of character, what do you take from that normally?
The thing is, like, I consider myself a coach and a match analyst and just a student of the game.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm working with the coach, I just try to like observe and see how they act in like every moment of their kind of like process with the team. So how does he give a team talk? How does he present his training sessions? How does he prepare for his training sessions? Yeah. Because I'm like thinking, okay, I'm a match analyst now, but I'm going to be a coach eventually. So let me see how the coach is doing it and take notes and keep notes. Yeah. So if I was to work with Conte, I would just write a book about him. Man. Yeah. Keep the notes all day long, man. That's for sure.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yeah. I'm going to flip this round.
Oh, man. Honestly, I feel like he's getting a lot of stick.
Yeah. It's hard, though. I said I got some stick the other day for saying I feel sorry for him.
Well, because you're a coach, you know the feelings.
It's hard, man.
It's honestly, lonely out there.
I mean, you know what? That's the word right there. Yeah. Lonely. Yeah. Because it's very easy to criticize him. Yeah. And listen, by no means, I can't stand Man United. But him, watching him, and seeing what he's going through,
Yeah, man.
it's painful.
It's pain. It's a lot of pain, man.
It's painful. I mean, the thing is, we laugh about it, but it's true. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when he was playing, and then the comments come out about Football Manager. Have you ever played that? I'm sure
Of course,
you have.
of course.
Yeah. And he says, I used to play it all the time.
Oh, okay.
And,
He
you
kills
know,
himself sometimes. with
Yeah,
those
right. He
comments.
shoots himself in the foot.
Yeah,
Working with someone like that,
yeah.
how would that be for you as a match analyst? Because I think he would rely on you heavily.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, probably with working with someone like Oli, I don't know his personality, but what he seems is like he's probably quite an open coach. So like he'd probably be open to suggestions about playing style or how to get the best out of the team. But like, I don't know. It seems like I don't know if the issue is with Oli or if the issue is with his staff. So like you might do everything as an analyst. You might prepare the game properly. You might analyze the opponent the best way possible just to give the team everything they need. And he listens. He might do the whole coaching process perfectly. But sometimes on game day, like the player does something you say, it doesn't happen. Like Luke Shaw makes a mistake, the goal goes in. It's it's not always on the coach. The coach might be doing everything perfectly. Sometimes it just doesn't come out in the games.
And something else with technology now, obviously being your forte and obviously being a coach as well, the whole VAR thing has escalated over thick lines, thin lines. When coaches turn to the match analyst, are they still highlighting that at international and club level, or is that something that doesn't really happen anymore?
Exactly.
So, for example, with the whole confusion of whether the lines of if it's just a hand or something that can actually be offside in VAR situations, do they come to match analysts to kind of reduce the chances of that happening, or is that something where they just go, we'll just leave it up to the committee to sort out?
I think as an analyst, like you're not too concerned about those kind of things. You don't have time to worry about like referee decisions are a headache as it is, but trying to like reduce the chances significant, like a small chance of offside is not really where I think an analyst or a coach would put his time in. You just try to play the best as you can.
And something else which a lot of people in Liverpool came up with a throw-in specialist.
I saw that guy. I always see him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's doing his thing.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. He's everywhere.
Is that now creeping into the game more? I mean, I've heard set pieces coaches. I've heard of that.
Sure.
Throwing coaches, that's on another level. Is that coming in now even more?
I've never seen that before in my career, to be honest. Other than that guy, he's like the first I've ever seen of like a throwing coach. Yeah. Unless in your team you got a throwing coach, I don't know, but I ain't never seen one before. I don't
personally. I barely got an assistant coach. Hey Karim, you free one week?
Come on.
Let's get you in for a session. No, I was asking now. Has anything surprised you about the modern game in your opinion as a match analyst?
Has anything surprised me in the modern game as an analyst? I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I think what's surprising is match day. Match day is the most surprising thing of it all. Like you prepare the team and you know everything that might possibly happen in your analysis, and then like the game goes completely different than what you say. Like for example, you can do an opponent analysis, and then
what goes into? Let me just stop you there. What goes into an opponent analysis?
So like basically like rule of thumb is you gotta watch at least 3 to 5 matches of the next opponent.
Okay.
You break it down in the phases: offensive phase, defensive phase. And
so that's at least 7.5 hours of watching.
That's a lot of
Just we gotta let those people know, man. This ain't no joke. That's a lot of time that you're watching football. Then what happens?
And then you break it down into like the most important clips that you think are gonna help the team and the coach prepare for the next game. And then with the coach, they come up with like a game plan and a strategy of how to like play against the opponent. Some coaches are like extreme and they do everything based on the opponent, and some coaches are like middle ground, like they might change a few things, and some coaches don't care about the opponent. So that's like the balance that you have.
Okay, interesting. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We got one more segment coming up. Karim is in the building and we're having some fun. Stay tuned for more on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
Oh, he loves the fire and what a goal!
This is the halftime show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Nice strike! Oh, better than nice! Wonderful!
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes, we are back and we are live on Pulse 95 Radio with your boy Omar Al-Duri, and I'm here with Karim Tayara on the importance of match analysis in the modern game. If you missed the show, don't worry, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud. If you like a podcast, even prefer a visual, shout out to Super Mario and Sama, who control the YouTube episodes on Pulse 95 Radio YouTube channel as well. Check it out, fantastic. We cover things like mental health, gut health, and how important recovery is on the brain and the body. Okay, right, Karim. Last segment, man. I can't believe we're almost done already. Yeah, but I've had a good time, man, and I think we're definitely gonna have some more conversations on the game. Sure. Questions and answer segment normally is something where we throw questions your way. Yeah. If you could work with any coach in the world of your preference, who would it be?
Oh man, I'd love to work with Pep. Or I mean, the thing is, I'm a huge Jose fan because, like I told you, I was an Inter Milan fan, and during that period, I loved Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Although he's done everything in the game, like people now saying like, okay, his time is done. But I think probably Pep or Jose Mourinho.
What do you think about those people that say that his time is done?
I just think they don't understand the turbulence of life and as a coach.
Very good.
Things go up and down.
Very good. Love the way you're speaking. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Which team excites you the most as a match analyst?
Team excites me the most as a match analyst. So, like recently or like in the past couple of years?
I'll give you both.
Okay, so I really liked Leipzig's team with Nagelsmann. I think that was last year in the Champions League when they reached I think it was last year or the year before, and they reached the semi-final and they lost to PSG.
Yeah.
I really like that team. I think a lot of people kind of slept on that team, and he's a really good coach. So that was one of the teams I appreciated. And modern day, I'm gonna go with West Ham Browns. So I'm loving West Ham right now.
Yeah, man, that's the time actually.
Yeah. David Moyes and the guys.
Another example of a coach that maybe was probably hard done by.
Yeah, man, they killed them off. Like, yeah, he did amazing Everton. He went to Spain and they forgot about him. Man.
Yeah.
Man United, of course. Yeah.
It's a hard time being a coach, huh?
It's a hard job, man.
And I was going to say to you, if there's a player that you watch now and you go, boy, that's one heck of a player, who would that be? I'll give you one obvious one and one not obvious one.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of Declan Rice, man. I'm going to say it again. And I got to support West Ham, but Declan Rice is, again, I think he's kind of slept on. I think now he's starting to be picked up and respected for what he does. Especially his game is changing now. He's becoming more offensive.
Yeah.
He's definitely one to look out for. Other than that, probably Mo Salah, man. Mo Salah is doing this thing,
man. Go give him respect. My cousin's going to love the fact you said that, by the way.
I was going to say a couple of Arsenal players. I like your team a lot, man. I like Smith Rowe. I like Saka. I really respect Arsenal as well.
See, man, you already were in my good books, man. You don't have to say that at the end, but I appreciate you anyway. And that is full time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man.
On the halftime show. Karim, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Likewise,
I'm sure I'm going to be picking your brain on a lot more questions, man. It's fantastic to have you down here. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
And there you have it, folks. Remember, you catch every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, same time, same place, on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.